Hey, I'm Sean Ludlow. This is the third lesson in the Ghost Note series, and this one is on rudiments. If you haven't checked out the previous videos in this series, check them out using the links below. Rudiments are the basic tools of a drummer. They are a set of rhythmic patterns first created by Charles Stewart Ashworth in 1812. They've been changed a number of times throughout the history of the drum kit and marching drumming until today, where, according to the Percussive Arts Society, there are 40 main rudiments. These rudiments are separated into 4 different categories. That's roll rudiments, diddle rudiments, flam rudiments, and drag rudiments. This video is far too short to cover every aspect of rudiments, so I'm just going to touch upon some of the ones I think are most important and that I use a lot in my playing, and how to implement ghost notes into them. Although, I do recommend you going elsewhere and really diving into rudiments. There's loads of books out there and videos online that you can use, and it will really help improve your drumming. So exercise number 1 is a rudiment fill made up of a paradiddle. And the sticking for a paradiddle is right, left, left, left. And you just loop that. We're going to play it as 16th notes around the kit, all of the ghost notes on the snare drum, and then we're going to have the accent notes on the quarter notes of each bar. So that's beat 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to move it onto different surfaces. So here's exercise 1 for you. Now exercise number 2 is a bit more of an exciting way to use the paradiddle as a fill. We're going to have the left foot playing an 8th note pulse throughout, which really helps keep time and just adds an extra layer to the fill. We're also going to add in a few more accents just to make it a bit more interesting. There is also a lot more you can do with paradiddles, like adding your bass drum, moving to different surfaces, playing them swung instead of straight. But I'll let you experiment with that yourself. And when you're practicing these, make sure you're playing them not just on their own. Put them into put them into grooves that you're already playing, so that you can really understand how they can be used in your playing, not just on their own. So the next rudiment we're going to look at is the 6-stroke roll, which is used all the time in rock drumming, and you can use it much the same way as the paradiddle, and implement ghost notes into it in the same way as well. So what we can do is add accents in certain places and have all of the rest of the notes as ghost notes. The most simplest way of adding ghost notes to any of the rudiments. So the sticking for the 6-stroke roll is right, left, right, left. And you want to make sure you get that turnaround. So you're playing the right, right, left, right, like that. That's the simplest way of playing it. So this particular example of a 6-stroke roll fill is going to implement 30-second notes. And don't worry, if we play this slow, they won't be too fast for you. The accent pattern for this will have every left, right as accents and the rest as ghost notes. So it will be right, left, right, left, right. Simple. So here's exercise number 3 for you. Slow, medium, and fast. that one was too fast or too complicated for you, simplify it. Keep everything on the snare drum and get rid of that left foot. Just keep it nice and simple, nice and slow, and then you can build it up to that after. So this next rudiment kind of has its own ghost note built into it. It's called a flam, which is essentially when you're playing two notes slightly separate instead of at the same time to make it sound like you're only playing one thick note. And essentially you want to be playing one accented note or just a louder note and then the previous note just before it. So the way to do it is to, instead of bringing your hands down at the same time, you want to start with one hand lower and then bring them down. So you have a thicker note. You don't want to be going, or you want to make sure you can just about hear that there's two notes in there. Like that. So flams can be used in many different fills and grooves, but here is one example which also implements the paradiddle that we showed you earlier. So first off, we have a flam on one, and then two kick drums on the and of one. Then we have a flam on the floor tom for beat 2, followed by a kick on the E, and then a flam on the and back on the snare drum. Following that, we have a paradiddle, or at least the first half, right, left, right, on beat 3. And then finally, we have a flam on the 4, followed by a kick drum on the E, and another flam on the and. This one is a little bit of a tricky one to figure out at first, but it does sound really good when you get to it. So here it is for you. So this next rudiment is a drag, which in its simplest way is basically two ghost notes just squished up next to an accented note. So we don't have to add in any of our own ghost notes for this one. It's essentially, instead of just playing an accented note like that, you're going to be going two little ghost notes. But you don't want to play them as if they're separate notes. Similar to a flam, you want it to be nice and tight to it, so it sounds kind of like a thicker note. So here it is at slow, medium, and fast tempos. So drags can be used in any of your grooves and fills if you want to spice it up a little bit by adding just something little extra. So here is an example of how you can use drags in one particular groove or fill. And this one's really good as maybe a song ender perhaps. With this one you want to watch out for the crash and snare accents on beats 2 and 4. And if you struggle with this one, just play everything on the snare first and play it nice and slow, and then you can move it around afterwards. Okay, so there are a few examples of how you can implement ghost notes into your rudiments for fills. But don't just stop there. There are so many more rudiments and so many more different ways you can implement them and add ghost notes into them as well. So go check them out and experiment. Now we're going to move on to some rudiment-based grooves, or more specifically, paradiddle grooves, because that's my favorite. So here is one basic way of turning a paradiddle into a basic groove. So all we have done is moved the right hand of the paradiddle over onto the hi-hat, and the left hand stays on the snare drum and plays ghost notes, except we accent beats 2 and 4 so that we have a backbeat, and then also add in some kick drums wherever you feel necessary. So now that you have that pattern down and you're making it sound nice and good, you can add in any bass drum pattern that you already know. You can also change so that your right hand is no longer on the hi-hat and it's on the ride, or maybe a floor tom, even a crash if you really want to go for it. This next exercise is just a more complicated example of how we can make a simple paradiddle into a groove with ghost notes. Okay, now you have the paradiddle sticking down and you can use that as a groove. We're now going to move on to a bit more of a complicated one, which is the inverted paradiddle. The sticking for the inverted paradiddle is right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, and then you loop that. This sticking can make some really cool grooves, but in this example, make sure that you accent the quarter notes and also the of one. And again, like the previous patterns, you can always make it more complicated by adding any foot pattern you want and moving your right hand over to any other surface. Also, by changing up the accent patterns. Don't forget about that. That can always make things a lot more interesting. Exercise number 11 is a good example of a more complicated inverted paradiddle groove. This groove adds a number of off bass drum placements and also some open hi-hat to get your left foot involved. There's also an added accent on the R of beat 2. Okay, well that's all we have time for in this video. I know we only scratched the surface of how to play with rudiments and how to add ghost notes into your rudiments, but I hope that it really helps start your journey into rudimental drumming. And you really should dig deeper into the concepts and check out some other resources. There's plenty of books and videos out there, and I really think you should keep going on this journey. If you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, please like it, subscribe, hit the bell, all of the other gibberish, and make sure you check out the previous videos in this series, and also stay tuned because there's still loads more videos to come. If you want any advice or some one-to-one lessons, you can contact me on my social medias, which are linked below, or you can email me at ludlowdrumtuition@gmail.com. So coming up in the next video in this series, we're going to be going into how to use ghost notes in your shuffles. I love shuffles, one of my favorite things to do on the drums, and I'm really looking forward to diving into this topic with you. We're going to cover halftime shuffles, blues shuffles, maybe even some jazz, and we're also going to cover a couple of famous shuffle songs. So see if you can guess what they are in the comments. Pretty sure you'll manage it. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video.